Hey guys, Kevin TCG here, and today we're going to go over the top 5 tips to hunt Pokemon cards in Tokyo. Let's get started. Alright, so the 5 tips are: avoid vending machines. Yes, avoid big cities, but also give some love to small towns. Learn the language, it'll make things so much easier. Know what you can buy and sell in Japan, and go in blind. I'll go ahead and explain each of these tips in detail. Starting with number 1, don't buy from vending machines. You'll see a lot of Pokemon card vending machines in Tokyo, and especially concentrated in Akihabara. Some sell booster packs for $10 or more, or 1,000 yen, when in reality booster packs are only roughly worth 300 or 200 yen, which is about $2 US dollars. Some vending machines are chance-based, so they'll have a list of random cards and rarities that you can pull. And they're not bad, but I recommend trying it at least one time to satiate your curiosity. Who knows, you could get a really good card, but most of the time you'll get cards that are undervalued the price you usually typically put into the vending machine. I recommend saving your money and going to the physical Pokemon Center locations. They have daily limits of 5 packs per set per day as of 2023. That might change in the future. So you can buy 5 packs of 151, 5 packs of Triplet Beat, 5 packs of Ruler of the Black Flame, and so on and so forth, depending on what they have on in their rotation. And you can usually find it at their checkout counter. Convenience stores also have them. They're a great tool and resource on snacks and beverages, pulling out money from ATMs, and selling Pokemon cards from time to time. They won't always have them, but there's possibilities, especially if your hotel or accommodations are in a quieter part of Tokyo. At least for me, near Chiyoda, our convenience stores packed Pokemon cards, specifically Raging Surf, and got some pulls. Of course, there's retail stores too, like Bic Camera and Yodobashi Camera, and other kind of department stores that may sell Pokemon cards. Tip number 2, visit big cities, but make some time for small ones. So in bigger cities, you'll find secondhand shops like Surugaya, and more hobby shops and dedicated card stores. And if you're like me, you'll most likely Google the top card shops in Tokyo, like the top 10 ones, and you'll visit them. That's not a bad thing. Visit them. They're great. They're great to visit. They're great to see and check out all of the cool cards they have, because they'll definitely have a lot more cards than those smaller town shops. But depending on the area, like Akihabara, it might be a little higher than the market, but it's still worth your time visiting. Also, in the big city areas, typically visit the shops when people are usually at their day jobs, because towards the evening, that's when a lot of the people get off work and participate in the local tournaments and buy cards and whatnot. In smaller cities or less popular towns, you'll find that secondhand shops like Book Off or retail stores might have more stock than the main cities. And for my case, that was very true. I didn't buy much, but there was a lot. So for example, some smaller towns are like Machida. They have a squirrel garden. They have like 3 Book Offs there. Yokohama, it's not a smaller town, but it's less populated and less dense than Tokyo. Same with Osaka, less dense than Tokyo, and a lot more different variety. If you've watched part 2 of my Japan adventures, I got this here in Ikebukuro, which is, I'd probably say, just about as pop culture and geeky as Akihabara, but Ikebukuro is less chaotic as Akihabara. Found this at a local Surugaya shop. It's one of my favorite shops, apparently. Tip number 3, learn the language. It'll make things go by so much easier. Now, I have some phrases to help start you off. And I don't expect anyone to become fluent or conversational in the Japanese language, but sure, you're in Tokyo and there might be some employees who know English, but there's always going to be some sort of communication barrier. So the more you know, the easier it'll be for both of you to make sure you get the right cards and the right packs or the right boxes that you want. So for example, some card shops or secondhand shops have a display area outside, like product behind a display glass, behind a shelf. So you would have to go inside the main shop, go to the cashier, and ask them that you'd like a collection box outside of the shop. So you can say there's two phrases mean essentially the same thing. One is more polite and one is more direct. I'd probably go with the more polite one, but if you know a little more Japanese, you can squeeze it in depending how you talk. Anyways, sumimasen, soto no kado ga hoshii desu. So that was the more upfront way to say it. Totally polite to say. Even a slightly more polite version is sumimasen, soto no kado onegai shimasu, which means I want the card outside. You can also, point to help language speaking. You're a foreigner. It's not rude to point. It's not necessarily rude to point. If you're pointing and laughing at someone, that's rude. But if you're like pointing like, oh, I'd like that card over there, it's fine. Another related language term is learning the alphabet. I know, again, just hear me out. Japan has 3 types of character alphabets. There's hiragana, katakana, and kanji. It might be beneficial to learn the first 2 because the third one, kanji, there's like over 500 characters. It's a whole other thing. So my thinking is, once you're able to read hiragana and katakana, or at least recognize the kanji characters, or you don't have to fully understand it, but if you could memorize how it's said on the internet phonetically, or how it's read, or how the characters are displayed on the pack art, and how to say it, it'll make it a little easier. Or you could just use Google Translate. Nothing wrong in that. It helps, gets the job done. No shame in that. The reason why I emphasize to learn the language is I've seen lots of tourists during my time there go into Japan and have this really big barrier communication breakdown when they're just simply trying to order some chicken at the convenience store, like the hot bar chicken. They're saying, no, I didn't want that one. I wanted this chicken, not that chicken. And just turn into a whole thing. It's like, use your phrases. Don't go in blind. Tokyo you can navigate Tokyo around with Google Translate, but learn some phrases. I can go on a whole rant about my experience with other tourists and their do's and don'ts. Also, if you guys are finding these tips helpful, leave a like and subscribe to the video for more content in the future. Back to the tips. Number 4, know what you can buy and sell in Japan in terms of Pokemon cards. Some shops in Japan, or Tokyo specifically, won't let you sell cards. I believe there's a rule in place where you have to have Japanese citizenship to sell product. So if you're not a Japanese citizen, you might be a little out of luck. So go ahead and look at the trade route. For trades with stores, I'm not too sure. So maybe trade with the locals, during card night or something. I've been to a couple shops where I've seen foreigners try to sell cards and they were handed a piece of paper saying, hey, we can't buy your cards. We can sell you cards, but we can't buy your cards. And there's literally signs all around the shop in English and Chinese and any other language that says, we can't buy your cards. Keep that in mind. When you're buying Pokemon cards, you can't return them either. And that's a pretty common practice even here in the United States and other countries, mainly because they're trying to cut down on, bad practices. And there's also a thing called, scalping. A lot of resellers in Japan and foreigners would buy up a ton of product, sealed product, and then sell it, across the ocean. It would destroy the local distribution in Japan and kind of just mess everything up. So you might notice some booster boxes, for example, are a lot cheaper than their counterparts. So if they're the same set, so for example, Raging Surf, you have booster box A, that is, let's say $90, 9,000 yen. You have booster box B, which is $70 or 7,000 yen. I'm just doing a one-to-one conversion here. Booster box A is sealed. The shrink wrap is not torn anywhere, and it's fine. It looks sealed, completely mint. And you got booster box B, $70, and it has one tear in the back of the box underneath where there's no design, and it's selling for $70. Why is that? Because there's a tear in it. A lot of times distributors, when they send out product or give it to shops, they'll tear the box, the shrink wrap, just to deter resellers selling it as completely sealed. So in a lot of card shops, they might be selling booster boxes for a little cheaper than it would be completely shrink wrapped. Now that's not a great thing for collectors who are looking for 100% sealed stuff, but it's so great for people like you and me who just want to crack open packs. I've saved so much money that way. I don't like smart TVs. Another rant for another time. And tip number 5, my very last one, is go in blind. In my personal opinion, I don't typically buy Japanese cards. I think they're great. However, I was looking for sealed product over singles, which I found. And there's so much stuff I don't know about the sealed Japanese products. So my mentality is to go in blind and buy whatever looks cool, open it up, and have a great time. And I accomplished that. Now this might not apply to those who do collect Japanese cards. If you know what you want, be prepared, save up for it. You know it's going to be expensive. You know the quality on Japanese cards are expensive. Save up for that. Save up for those singles, save up for those collection boxes you're looking for. Because they may have it, and if they do have it, it's going to be a little expensive. Those 25th anniversary boxes, over 300 bucks. Eevee Heroes? Ooh, don't even think about it. Also, don't be the person to buy out the entire store's inventory. Leave some for the locals and other tourists. Those are the top 5 tips for hunting Pokemon cards in Japan, specifically Tokyo. I also have some more practical tips when it comes to just traveling Japan. Invest in a good pair of walking shoes. I highly recommend that. So if you're expecting to walk a majority of the time, especially in Tokyo, where you will be relying on public transportation, don't bring your casual sneakers. You can bring them for, if you have a planned outing for like an hour or two, but don't rely on them for the entire day. They will get destroyed. That happened to me in my high top Vans in 2019. Big mistake. So if you can, invest in a nice pair of walking or running shoes a couple months before you go in. For example, I went with a local running shoe store and I had like my foot scanned and had video recording. I didn't need to do all that. I got like custom insoles in it, and I bought a pair of Hokas, and I probably didn't need all of that, but I walked 10 miles a day, like over 10 miles a day for 2 weeks in Tokyo and other areas. The one day I wore my casual shoes, and that was for like half a day, I got blisters on my feet, specifically my pinky toe. So I said, never again. I'm going back to my running shoes. Felt fine. Of course your feet are going to feel fatigued. Your legs are going to feel fatigued, but in the long run, your feet are going to be more prepared, and it'll be a lot more tolerable than destroying your sneakers. Eat a lot. Please, you need your energy. To compensate for all that walking, you might eat more than 3 meals a day, which is what I did, or at least have lots of snack breaks. There's going to be so many convenience stores to stop by. Buy a pack of Pokemon cards, buy a chocolate croissant, and some juice. You're good to go and keep on traveling. Cash is king. You're going to hear that in a lot of other Japan travel tip videos. Cash is king. Credit cards are fine in like major areas and restaurants, but cash is king. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on these tips. Have you ever been to Japan before? What would you recommend if you have been? Or any other countries when you're traveling there? What would you recommend about hunting for Pokemon cards? Is there anything else you'd like to know more about Japan and Pokemon cards or Pokemon related items? I might be able to answer that, so leave a comment below. My name is KevTCG, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.